Coming up on Mountain News this morning, we'll take a look at how stressful situations can leave a traumatic effect for first responders. And the Commonwealth is working hard to prevent overdose deaths.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning, I'm Olivia Calfee. We are just past 5:30 on Tuesday, June 4th. Now let's send it over to meteorologist Mace Michaels for a look at your forecast this morning.
Good morning, Olivia. A warm day is in store for us with highs jumping well up into the 80s later today and only some isolated storms. This morning, watching for a little fog in spots. In Whitesburg on the camera in the distance, it kind of looks a little hazy. Maybe a smidge foggy, but not locally dense fog. We have no visibility problems right here on this camera shot in town. Temp is at 63. Notice a few patchy clouds in the background here in Hazard. Temps in the 60s as well. Maybe a little hazy way off in the distance. Visibility down in Jacksboro and Middlesboro, both of those under a mile. Otherwise, the rest of the area is up above the mile mark. 60-degree temperatures. It's a nice beginning to the day. We only have a partly cloudy sky to talk about this morning. We'll look for maybe a stray thunderstorm to develop later this afternoon, like we had in a few areas yesterday. Again, our highs, Olivia, it looks like a warm one, well up into the mid-80s. Full forecast coming up.
All right, Mace, thank you. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs says about 12 million people in the U.S. are living with PTSD. They say often those people don't get the treatment they need. Jeremy Toms talked with one Kentucky EMS team about the toll the disorder takes on first responders.
Christopher Runyon has served the public in the EMS field for 35 years, a commitment which hasn't come without cost.
It may only be 1 in 75 or 1 in 100 calls, but you will face those calls that are going to disturb you.
For many of those years, he'd returned from a traumatizing run, only to hear something like this.
That's part of the job, and you have to deal with it, and if you can't deal with it, then you need to find something else to do. And
they do deal with it. But Runyon says the job affects first responders over time.
You go on a call, you're disturbed by it, but you kind of tuck it away in the back of your mind, and then they just begin to build up and build up.
But the culture of suppressing emotions and feelings is fading within his office.
Now it's no, you need a minute, you can't help somebody if you're not okay.
Starting this year, the service will have an internal critical incident team that will get training on peer-to-peer counseling so they can be there for their coworkers. They'll also start evaluating the mental health of their EMTs every year, in addition to their physicals.
And we're just trying to change a culture where people are comfortable coming to us and talking to about it. That's the big step.
New EMTs like Lexi Bowman are seeing a more supportive workplace.
Their first priority is mental health, even if it's not work related. If you were like, man, I've got this going on, it's personal, go home, take a day.
And so they're ready to share those values with other aspiring first responders.
Don't bottle it up because that never helps. It's always better to let it out and utilize what you have.
In Georgetown, Jeremy Toms, WKYT.
Runyon says their agency also offers a free employee assistance program that will pay for him to his team to seek outside counseling if they would like it. Due to the drug epidemic and an increase during the COVID-19 pandemic, overdose deaths became far too prevalent in the United States. However, a recent report now shows a decline in those numbers. I was able to speak with officials at a Perry County Recovery Center and a patient in the program about the positive impact treatment facilities are making.
Robert Fannin says he grew up seeing family members in addiction, saying it was never what he wanted, but it was what happened.
I know that day I woke up in the hospital with nurses and doctors and 2 or 3 people I didn't even know standing around me. I knew I had to do something different. I couldn't continue to live like that.
A recent CDC report shows overdose deaths in the U.S. dropped 3% from 2022 to 2023. And in Kentucky, the decline was even greater at 8%. Greg Burke, executive director of Beacons of Hope, says the statistic is positive. And knowing that Robert Fannin is one person aiding in the decline proves their work can't stop.
That just validates and proves that the things we're doing are working. But we're not winning the war. We have to continue to fight.
Saying for far too long people were sent off to find treatment. But now in eastern Kentucky, people can find treatment that they do not have to be ashamed of.
It was hit so hard with the opioid epidemic, and it continues to be hit hard with illegal drugs. But for people to know now that they can come right down the road, come here, be in a safe place with people that actually care about them right here at Beacons of Hope, I mean, it changes the game.
And Beacons of Hope was who Robert called when he found himself in a bad situation caused by addiction, saying his 30-day stay is now marking 5 months, and he has hope for a brighter tomorrow.
I was originally just going to stay here 30 days, but I don't know, there was something different that set in on me while I was here. I didn't feel like 30 days was going to be enough for me to get any help, so I stayed here. You know, I've been here 5 months right now.
A call for help, a call to find hope, to save lives and continue decreasing the number of overdose deaths in the Commonwealth.
If you are looking for inpatient treatment options, you can call Beacons of Hope at 606-551-1140. And for more information on resources available in the CDC statistics, you can visit our website, WYMT.com. One Clay County man learns he will be spending 12 years behind bars. Terry Wagers was sentenced for the Labor Day 2020 death of Johnny Lynn Curry. After recently pleading guilty to manslaughter, Curry was shot and killed at the intersection of Kentucky 149 and US 421. His father, Jimmy Curry, says he wanted to hold his son one last time.
At the funeral, I wanted to lean on my son and hold him and kiss him on his forehead, but I couldn't because I had to pull his sister and his daughter away. I had to be strong for them.
Curry says it has been difficult to live without his son and says he still does not feel like justice has been served. A Knox County missing woman was found dead early yesterday morning. Troopers with Kentucky State Police say they found 42-year-old Jennifer Hensley's car along the Hal Rogers Parkway. Her body was found a short distance from the vehicle. Officers say that no foul play is suspected, but they still are investigating her death. And a Clay County inmate is still on the run after escaping on Thursday. Officers say Skylar Hubbard escaped from near the Beech Creek Apartments. He was last seen near Cole Hollow. At the time of escape, officers said he was wearing orange work release clothes. Anyone with information is asked to call the sheriff's office. In Laurel County, police arrested 49-year-old Patrick David Sizemore after they say they got a call that he was laying unresponsive in a road. Officers arrested the East Bernstadt man on Saturday. Deputies with the Laurel County Sheriff's Department say they found Sizemore unresponsive with a, quote, empty beer can in between his legs, end quote. Officers say the incident happened near R. Heron Road. Sizemore was charged with public intoxication. A fire destroyed a sacred place for many people in Tazewell, Tennessee. The Springdale Baptist Church now a loss. The newly renovated Fellowship Hall survived the fire, but the church itself was destroyed. Crews worked fast to stop the flames from spreading to the entire building. Churchgoers, however, remained positive about the future of their church.
Upon arrival, we was just completely devastated with what we saw. Really no words to describe what we felt, but we're very optimistic as a church that we know who we have our faith in and who we count on, and we know what's going to come in the future. We'll rebuild it bigger and better.
No one was hurt in the fire, and Pastor Brandon Christian says services will continue at Big Springs Primitive Baptist Church every Sunday at 10 a.m. Members of the Kentucky Poor People's Campaign will soon head to Washington, D.C. to have their voices heard. Yesterday, about a dozen members of the campaign held a rally on the front steps of the state capitol. There, they announced they will travel to the nation's capital on June 29th for the National Poor People's Campaign Moral Revival March on Washington, D.C. Tens of thousands are expected to show up to demand federal legislators to end poverty and encourage Americans to vote.
But we want to get policies passed that help your everyday people. So people are interested in health care, and they're interested in affordable rent, affordable housing. People need food that they can afford.
The Poor People's Campaign is nonpartisan. According to the organization, poverty is the fourth leading cause of death in the U.S. And when we return, Uno continues to outpace every card game in America.
Some pretty quiet weather conditions this morning with some patchy areas of fog. Through the afternoon, some storms developing. All of the full forecast coming up.